God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. If you please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will please call the roll.
Council Broderick.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Council Kennedy.
Here.
Council Laurie.
Here.
Council Martin.
Here.
Council Mendonça. Here. Council Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Council Nguyen.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. We have under the city clerk's portion of the agenda minutes of the city council May 1st, as well as technology and utilities subcommittee for May 1st for acceptance. Move for approval by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Nguyen. Councilor Mendonça.
On the minutes of last week's meeting, I have also asked that the clerk number the documents for page numbers so we can easily refer to them. It's the 7th page. You can understand why I would ask. The motion by Councilor Kennedy regarding the ad hoc subcommittee. The second line from the bottom of the page, in my comments, there was a reference to change of address. That should read change of ownership, so just change address to ownership. And that was, I believe, what I said or intended to say.
Any other one on the minutes for either subcommittee or the regular meeting? Motion to accept as amended then. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next we have, Councilor Nguyen.
Mr. Mayor, if I have a motion to suspend the rules, I know that the managers have recommended the appointment of Jim Weil to the historical board, and Mr. Weil indicated that he have class 210 so if you can take him up first and then second to that, Councilor Mercia maybe can address to that. We have the student here.
Yes.
Sure. Motion by Councilor Nguyen, seconded by Councilor
Yes.
Mercia to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Councilor Mercia.
I think Councilor Nguyen was alluding to the fact that we have a large number of youth here today.
Sure.
And maybe they might want to stay till the end of it, but I think maybe we could suspend their rules and allow them to leave so they don't have to stay here all night, because we wouldn't want to put anybody to sleep, but that's okay.
All right, then we'll get right started then. Communication from the city manager to appoint Jim Weil to the historic board. Mr. Manager?
This is Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is as everyone knows, the Historic Board serves a very important function here in the city in regards of reviewing projects that take place, particularly in the downtown historic area. And Mr. Wild comes with extensive background in real estate development and a keen understanding and appreciation for the historic significance of our structures in our city. And we had a vacancy, and Mr. Wild applied, and it's my pleasure to make this appointment, subject, of course, to the council's ratification.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Move for approval by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Laurie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure to have Jim Wild on board. He'll be a solid contributor to that particular historic board, and we're happy to have you. Your resume was very impressive, and we're very glad that you want to spend your time in the city like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It'll be an honor to serve.
Thank you. All those, roll call, please.
Council Broderick.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Laurie.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mendonça.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counsel Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you, Mr. Wild. Mr. Manager?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I also have one other introduction I'd like to make tonight to the council. We have our new Executive Director of the Cultural Organization of Lowell and the Director of the Cultural Affairs and Special Events Office, Susan Halter, who started last week. So she's been on board now for 8 days. And or thereabouts. And Susan comes to us with extensive experience managing a arts organization in Lynn, where she has had quite a bit of success. She came highly recommended from people in the state cultural organizations, and after extensive recruitment process and interview process with the Cool Board and my office, we chose Susan, and I wanted to bring her here tonight to introduce her to the council. And I'm sure you'll be seeing more of Susan around and about at our various cultural events in the city and special events in the city, and I know she's going to do a great job for us.
I just want to say what a pleasure it is to meet you all. Lowell, as you know, is an amazing city, and I'm really excited to be here. I want to invite you personally to the Cool Breakfast tomorrow morning at 7:30, bright and early. I know your meetings go a little late, so if I don't see you at the breakfast tomorrow, I hope I have the opportunity to meet you individually. Thank you so much. Looking forward to working with you all. And you would ask me that, the
LTC.
The LTC?
LTC.
I'm learning all the letters. There are a lot of letters in Lowell.
Right. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Ms. Halter. Next, we have then a general petition from Shane Graham Beavis of Lowell, Massachusetts, to address the council regarding bullying.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Councilors. Before I start, I would like to say a special hello to Rita Mercier from my brother Patrick Graham. He was here 7 years ago to make the street a one-way and just to make the city safer. My name is Shane Graham Bevis. I am 14 and attend Stockosa Middle School. I became interested in anti-bullying 3 years ago when I became a victim. I was stabbed in the hand with a roofing nail and kicked so hard in the ribs that I had a shoe mark 3 hours later when my doctor examined me. I did not know this kid, and he didn't know me. He was much bigger than me, and that's why I became his target. The driver did nothing to stop it, although he saw it. Luckily, there was footage from the video on the bus. I don't want any child to have to go through what I did. I had supportive parents to turn to. Some children have no one and feel they did something to deserve it. Children should feel safe in school as well in our city. I would like to see more done in our city to promote awareness to bullying and the long-lasting effect it causes. The effects of bullying carry into adulthood and can cause depression, low self-esteem, relationship problems, work issues, and even suicide. I personally have done lots to promote awareness, such as modeled in a fashion show in Cape Cod to raise money, danced in a flash mob in Boston at Faneuil Hall. I was interviewed on BNN TV in Roxbury. I handed out flyers in Cambridge at an anti-violence festival with Carla Romero, a Latina woman running for Congress in District 7. I had a meeting April 26th to meet with Jean Franco from the school department to present some ideas for Lowell schools. I was invited to the school committee meeting to speak on May 18th and was also interviewed by the Lowell Sun. Upcoming events I have are, I will be giving an anti-bullying speech at MIT in Cambridge in front of 100 people. I will be giving another speech at a fashion show to benefit the Italian Children's Home in Boston, and I was also invited to the Puerto Rican Festival in Dorchester in July, and given a table to pass out flyers and information about anti-bullying. I will also be marching in their parade with my team. I will be filming a commercial for Lowell Cable with two of my friends doing a rap against anti-bullying. I am currently a mentor to a boy from Ohio and a girl from South Boston. Both have been bullied because of their appearance. It is no different state to state or city to city. Our city needs to take a stand and unite against bullying. All my flyers and bracelets and promotional materials I have paid for myself with money I earned doing chores. I begin to think that since all these other cities had welcomed me, that I would try my own city. I have not been as lucky. I sent an email to Christopher Samaras to get a table at the Lowell Folk Festival and was told, Unfortunately, setting up informational tables is not allowed within the footprint of the Lowell Folk Festival, as space is only limited to event sponsors. I think this policy should be revised. Each situation should be looked at differently. The question asked should be, does it benefit our city? The kids of today are the city's future. If we are not given a voice, the city will not improve and grow. We need to be given a chance to show we can be your future's leaders. What I would like to see from my city is possibly a yearly citywide anti-bullying day, maybe held at Shed Park or on the Boulevard. Some other ideas I have are having a contest to pick a slogan for our city against bullying. We could be an example for the other cities, using that slogan and putting it on a flag and having a flag-raising ceremony. I'm sure if we approach the area businesses, they would want to support this. We could even pick 2 to 3 kids from every school in the city to join in a team to help plan events. The more we do in our city to promote anti-bullying, the better our city will be. It's all about communication and teaching people to see how we are alike rather than see the differences. I promote unity among all. I recently began working with a group in Cape Cod called You Are Brand. They promote anti-bullying and go to area schools. They have a dance team called The New Generation and speakers that were bullied to lecture on the effects. One of their speakers has autism and another girl is considered too pretty and beaten and left for dead. She survived with reconstructive surgery and numerous plates in her face. They would be willing to come to Lowell if we had an anti-bullying festival. After seeing the article in Lowell Sun, which we had riot conditions downtown and numerous police officers hurt, I think our city could use an anti-bullying festival. I have letters from people just thanking me for what I'm doing and all I've done to help out with bullying. I've gotten letters from people in college and just people around the United States. And I sent the message to Trayvon Martin's mother just to say how sorry I am and what I'm doing. And she sent a personal letter back telling me that even though all the hard times that she's having, she still appreciates everything that I'm doing with anti-bullying. And for those, I was in the newspaper for anti-bullying, and those of you who haven't seen it, I have a copy of it right here. And thanks for your time, everybody. Does anyone have any questions?
Councilor Laurie.
I just want to say thank you. This is a problem that's been nationwide, that no one's been really been able to put a handle on, but you. So, you know, I wish you the best of luck and we support you.
And I also have a question. Can some people from my team pass around posters and stuff?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to thank you for your hard work and courage, and especially coming down here and speaking so well. I certainly will support it, and maybe we can refer this to the manager to work on an anti-bullying day and follow through with what you started. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, it's Councilor Broderick, we will, I'll assign some staff to work on this. I know that the chief has already reached out to Shane to have him speak at a youth development meeting, collaborative meeting that we will be having, and we'll work on that. And beyond that, we'll also work with the folk festival people to see if there's something that can be done with regards to that limitation, and see what we can do to help you out on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Shane, you are a shining example of what we need more of in this city and in this country. I agree. It's a major problem, and for you to stand up for yourself and for others and to take it the next step is it's really quite touching, I have to tell you. If my question to you is, if you had one, and you have some wonderful ideas, and I have a feeling you're going to fulfill all of them. If you had one major event or idea that you would like to see implemented in the city, which one do you think it would be? Would it be, or that would have the greatest impact and send a message to anyone in the future that we're not going to tolerate bullying, what do you think that would be?
I think the anti-bullying festival, just to have it like once a day every year or even twice a day, just like to have teachers and parents and students and everyone come together to put a stop to all this bullying, and have like a bunch of different anti-bullying spokesmen and people there, just so people who are bullied can get help.
Okay, we have festivals for so many other things in the city, and it's a wonderful trait that people know Lowell for, and one of the biggest problems we have, I think we need to call attention to it. So I think it's a good idea, and I think that we should try to move forward it, and I'll personally will support it financially and with the city as well to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say, Shane, we on the council and the people watching at home are very, very proud of you. I firmly believe that when bad things happen, goodness comes through. And had you not been bullied, people such as yourself wouldn't have got the information and all the work that you put into this. So I think bad things happen to good people for a reason, and this reason brought you here today and bring you in touch with many, many people. I want you to know how very proud we are that, and I'm not surprised, knowing your brother and trying to make a motion. People think only counselors make motions. People think only adults make motions, but the youth of our city make motions. That's how we got skateboard parks here. So I'm very, very proud to think that at 14, and your teachers at the Stocklosa School called me, they're very, very proud of you as well. I love that article. I love that we're focusing on the youth because you are our future. And in your article yesterday, you stated that one day you hope to be mayor, and that day shall come. That day will come. I know you believe that. And I hope that I'm still sitting here to be one of your votes, okay? So congratulations, and thank you for all you do. Bullying is a very horrific event that takes place in good people's lives. It should not be, but there are bad people out there that like to prey and hurt other people. So you're an inspiration for your friends, for the city, and congratulations. Thank you.
All I want to know is, where were you last week? Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just commend Mr. Graham Bevis, Shane, for coming down here and speaking to us. That's a very serious topic, and I commend you on your composure. Many adults who come and speak before the city council on issues are much less composed than that. I know people get very nervous. I'm sure you're very nervous, but or were nervous, but we couldn't tell. So congratulations on a fine presentation. I do want to know if you'll, at this anti-bullying day or rally, whatever is ultimately organized, if you would be willing to teach Councilor Mercier this rap, this Shane's rap.
Yes, I'll do it.
You know, I think I have the beat, but, you know, it might be helpful to you in future campaign literature to have Councilor Mercier doing this rap with you. So that's something I think will just add to the agenda of things that we might be able to rehearse when we go forward, okay?
Thank you. Councilor Newman.
Is this on the web anywhere?
Huh?
Is this on the web anywhere, the rap?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
Okay.
Councilor Newman.
Thank you, Mayor. Shane, you are very inspiring, and I also want to thank your parent and the rest of your teammate who is here and in supporting of you. This is a serious issue, not just in the city of Lowell and in the nation, and you take a lead in this with, you know, police chief, police superintendent Superintendent Lavalley and the other city officials and law enforcement to address this issue. It's very important. I will support you if you need my help in raising money and/or, along that line, having a day similar to Take Back the Night Day event and/or bullying campaign. I'd be happy to assist you any way I can. Again, thank you very much for being an example to others in the city of Lowell. Thank you.
Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very quickly, I was just looking at this, and this is really a nationwide problem, as I said earlier, and I congratulate him for coming forward. Can we start by putting this on our website, with the city website? And maybe if the mayor could bring this to the school department tomorrow, the school committee meeting, and put it on their website, I really think this is a great idea.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, just briefly, Mr. Mayor. Shane, I just want to commend you. I think you had a great presentation, very articulate, and I think that you should be commended for all that you've done in terms of the literature that you passed out today, and also for turning a negative experience into a positive situation for you and for everybody. And the more that you can get the word out, I think the better it will be. So, thank you.
I just want to thank all you guys for letting me come here and do this presentation. I also want to thank my mom and dad and my family for being supportive. And I want to thank all the teachers and students at school for also giving me support.
Thank you again, Shane. Moving back to the regular agenda, we have communication from the city manager. City manager responses to city council motions and requests. Any discussion? Councilman Mendonça.
There was an item regarding Council Lori's motion about Victory Park and the inability to identify all those veterans that were honored at the park. I myself tried to find someone who knew the names that were listed and was unsuccessful. So I would just like to put out to the public that they should contact the manager's office or even individual councilors if they feel more comfortable doing that. If they have any recollection or any record of who was honored at that park, then we could move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I put this motion in probably a couple of months ago, and I want to just say I appreciate the work that went into this project. And looking at the stone for Victory Park, one of the changes, I think the original monument was for the veterans, it was dedicated to the veterans of World War I and World War II, where this would now be dedicated to the people the men and women who served in all conflicts, which would include Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, etc. So that would probably be one change as we move forward. I'd really like to thank, who was it? Well, William Brunn, Billy Brunn. He was the one who brought it to my attention. And so without, his coming forward, this is probably something that would never have been done. So I wanted to thank him also and just thank the city for what they've done.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion under communications? Councilor Lloyd. Thank
you. One more. I saw there was a packet in here concerning Justin Lewis, St. Louis. That was something I brought to the city's attention. Ray Booton had called me a few weeks ago, and there was a young student over in Pawtuckville who wanted to become an Eagle Scout. And he came up with a rather good idea, was to put signs up at the city parks. There would be a central location in case of emergency. They talked about the park out on West Meadow Road, which has one address, whether you're in the back, the front, or at the school. So I really want to say congratulations to Justin for that idea and for coming forward. And thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the city council motions? Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilman Mendoza. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have a communication, being shortly after 7. We'll begin with the public hearings. We have a Lowell Cemetery Corporation at 1020 Lawrence Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, requests a storage for a 1,000-gallon gasoline and diesel tank. Open it up at this point for those wishing to speak in favor. If you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Mayor Murphy, councilors. My name is Arbery Brook Walsh. I'm superintendent of Lowell Cemetery. We have submitted an application for the storage of flammable and combustible materials, being 500 gallons of gasoline, 500 gallons of diesel fuel in an above-ground storage facility on our property located at 1020 Lawrence Street, Lowell, Mass.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition. Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We'll open it up for council discussion. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have any report or recommendation from the fire chief in regards to the storage of the fuel? Did we have anything? We never have a problem with this, and I don't think there is, but we always like to see someone more qualified than myself, because I don't know the first thing about it, and I'd just like to know. I have not seen anything.
Mr. Manager?
Counselor, I haven't seen anything on this either. I can, if the council wishes, we can get a report from the fire chief, or perhaps the vote could be subject to the approval of the fire chief.
Sure, I would support the vote subject to the approval of the fire chief.
Sure. Motion by Council Mercia,
Yes.
seconded by Councilman Mendoza. Any further discussion? Councilor Kennedy.
Could I just ask, where precisely is this going to be?
It actually has been in place since 2007. We have applied for registration and permitting from the fire department each year. It was not discovered that the license from 1965 had not been brought up to date when we installed the new above-ground tank. We had a 1,000-gallon gasoline tank that was underground and a 500-gallon diesel fuel tank that was underground. The fire department inspected the removal of those. They inspected the installation of the new above-ground system, and we have received approval each year, and it was not until this year that it was recognized that we hadn't made any amendment to that original license from 1965. And I did go to the fire department with the application for license, and I have signature of the head of the fire department, Edward Pita, on this form.
All right, but
So-
on the property, where exactly, I'm just trying to picture where it is.
Yes.
So is it near the railroad bridge?
Yes, it is. Our service building is along the property that is bordered by the Boston and Maine Railroad. And in the application, in the notice that we sent to the abutters,
Excuse me?
yes.
So is it within the cemetery grounds, or is it on the opposite side of?
No, it's on the cemetery grounds.
Inside the
Yes, it
fence?
is. Yes, it is.
Close to where the
Service.
railroad bridge is?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Councilor Laurie.
Just a quick question. Didn't we work on this a few weeks ago? Wasn't there something before the council that we took up maybe a month ago? We had something from the fire department on this?
Probably referring it to a public
Right.
hearing.
I believe so. I distinctly remember, because we had the map in front of us, that shed is over by the river.
All right, yeah.
Over by the
It's on
railroad.
that side of the cemetery, but it's
Yeah.
closer to the railroad tracks.
For some reason, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we discussed this. Now, whether we referred it to this point, I thought for some reason we might have taken a vote on it. But we did have the maps, and we did have the documentation from the fire department that night.
That's the point at which we referred it to this
Okay.
public hearing.
Okay.
It's the same information.
Yeah.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do see on the second page that Ed Pitter, the fire chief, approved it March 29th. Okay, I take that back, and I do make a motion to support that, yes.
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Any further discussion? Yeah, it's already been seconded, so, roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Present.
Counselor Madonza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a utility public hearing from Exonet Systems Incorporated, request to install fiber optic cable and nodes, antenna on poles, Bowers Street to Salem Street, and Salem Street to Cabot Street. We'll open it up at this point to all those wishing to speak in favor.
Hi, Carly Cower, represent Exonet Systems. I think you've all sort of seen this application before, but it's one additional node location on Cabot Street. We have 40 existing in the city, and this is just another one that we're putting up. It's a DAS antenna, so it supports the distributed antenna network in town.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Open it up at this time for those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition, in opposition. Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move for approval by
Second.
Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendonça.
Refer to the wire inspector.
This is to refer to the wire inspector. Councilor Martin.
So moved. I just want to thank Ms. Cower for coming down twice. I mean, she did make the effort to come to a subcommittee meeting last week as well. So, and there was a fair amount of discussion, sort of an update for the council about this technology. So we do appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I actually did try to email the propagation maps and the strand map, but every version of the Lowell email address has sort of bounced back. I asked Mr. Slagle if he could send them over to me, but I haven't heard back from him. So I'll get them over to you. I do have them.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Excuse me. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have communication from the city manager to request approval of out-of-state travel for the fire department. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Smith.
Any discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to support this, but Mr. Manager, could you please provide this council with a report on how many trips have been taken within the last 5 years out of state and what the cost of those are? I know some of them are grant funded and some of them with city funds, but I would just like to know how many trips have been taken. I mean, if you want to go 10 years, that's fine, but I don't want to make too much work. I just want to see, at least in the last 5 years, just the number of trips, the location, and the cost of the trip, as well as whether it was grant funded or city money.
Councilor Mendonça.
Actually, Councilor Elliott's last question was mine. Oftentimes, we have in the request where the funds are coming from, whether it's paid by grants or whether it's training funds in our budget. This one doesn't stipulate, so that would be my question.
This, on this particular one, this would be funded out of the fire department budget. They don't have the, this would be coming out of their training budget.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the vote? Counselor Martin?
No, I'm
Oh, I
fine.
thought you were
No.
raising your hand. Okay, roll call, please.
So, Mayor, I'm not sure if I should make that in the form of an amendment to this motion, or if it can just be included, request a report.
Sure.
Okay.
Motion as amended by Counselor Elliott, seconded by Counselor Broderick. All those in favor signify, roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy. Yes. Counselor Laurie. Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Madonza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Counselor Mercia.
before we get into the next number 7 motion, I would request if we could take 7 and 10 up together, because it seems like we're just rescinding a vote to transfer the money from one portion to the other. So it seems that they're both relevant, and I don't see why we couldn't take them together.
Well,
Second.
one is actually a vote to refer to a public hearing, and then the second is a vote to
Which one are
approve
we-
the transfer. Which
Are we
requires-
referring the first one to, well, how can we refer one to a public hearing and then take the money out of it and transfer it to someplace else? That doesn't seem clear to me.
Madam Solicitor?
It's really just sort of a housekeeping issue. The only reason that we have to refer the other one out to the first out to a public hearing is that we had established it via the route of a public hearing. At this point, the money could still be transferred. In fact, actually, the transfer vote refers to transferring the money at the end of the fiscal year. So I'm not sure, the auditor could probably speak to that, exactly when mechanically that will happen, if it will just happen at the end of the year. But we also have to transfer money out to pay the outstanding charges for the audit that was performed on the arena. So the transfer can still go forward, and then as a matter of housekeeping, we will then formally abolish that particular line item. But
So,
the transfer could certainly happen even though that account still remains in place.
so what is the purpose of sending this to a public hearing and let the public speak on something we're rescinding? We're dissolving something, aren't we?
Right, they're two separate issues. One is the transfer. The public hearing is again, more of a housekeeping matter than something that the public probably really would have any particular say on at this point, that they would want to weigh in on. But because we went that route to first adopt it, we have to utilize the same route to formally dissolve it. And it's really just a question of dissolving that particular section of the general laws in order to formally close out that account.
So I assume we have no more arena commission, right?
We just have a stadium commission.
Oh, they're just for the stadium,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I give this the first reading. In City Council vote, revocation of prior acceptance of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 53F and a half, regarding the enterprise fund establishing the Paul E. Songus Arena effective June 30th, 2012. By vote dated August 12, 1997, the City Council accepted Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 53F and a half, in order to establish an enterprise fund for the Paul E. Songus Arena, which set up a separate accounting process for receipt and expenditure, and there is no longer a need to continue this enterprise fund, but rather its financial accounting should be absorbed back into the general budget. In order to accomplish this change, the act must be rescinded in the same manner as it was accepted per Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Chapter 4, subsection 4B, and pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 4, subsection 4B, and the Council Rules, Rule 28 as amended, require an advertised public hearing before final action in order to revoke the Paul E. Songus Arena Enterprise Fund. Be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the City Council of the City of Lowell revokes, effective June 30th, 2012, the prior acceptance of August 12th, 1997 of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 53F and a half, relative to the establishment of an enterprise fund for the Paul E. Songus Arena. I entertain a motion to refer this to a public hearing for May 22nd at 7 PM. Motion by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have in City Council vote, order to transfer and appropriate funding associated with connecting Edwards Field's restrooms to the City of Lowell sewer system. Ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: the amount of $27,000 be transferred from Sale of Property Fund 1701 to DPW Professional Services account number 0404153-530000, ordered, recommended, and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title in City Council vote. Order that the amount of $27,000 be transferred and appropriated for funding associated with connecting Edwards Field's restrooms to the City of Lowell sewer system. Councilor Laurie.
No, just move to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Laurie,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Noon. Any discussion? Councilor Mercia.
I just want to know, and I thought it was the Edward Walsh Field. It's on Edward Street, but I thought it was the Edward Walsh Field, and I'd like to give proper respect to the person that we named it after. And I don't know why we're calling it the Edwards Field. It's Edward Street. It's the Eddie Walsh Field, and I just wanted to correct that. Thank you.
Sure. Any further discussion on the vote? Councilor Mendonça.
Just some questions about when it would be feasible to proceed with the actual connection. Do we have any idea of where the sewer line is going to be connected? Are you going to follow the new Edward Street? And can we do that prior to actually being transferred to the city?
You know, in all likelihood, it will be done prior to being transferred to the city, and we're actually working with the developer of the property to work with us on this, and it will be brought out along the side of the road, hopefully in the area of where the sidewalk will go. And we're looking at probably the engineering is being done now, and we're probably looking somewhere in the vicinity of mid-June, somewhere in that time frame, mid-June to late June, and having them work with us on that.
Yeah, I was concerned that obviously the advocates of this would want it sooner rather than later, and if we have to wait for the transfer of the land to the city,
correct,
that could be a while yet, or several months in between. So I'm glad to hear that working with contractor in order to maybe get this done sooner.
Correct.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the vote? Roll call, please.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Laurie.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote in City Council order to fund overtime expenses within the Police Department, ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the amount of $160,000 be transferred from the school heat and gas account number 01234-153-520101 to the police overtime account number 02104-151-513000. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title and City Council vote. Order that the amount of $160,000 be transferred to fund overtime expenses within the police department. What's the wish of the council? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the chief is here. Chief, could you please give us a explanation of, well, maybe she has, how much have we spent on overtime, and maybe where exactly is that overtime being spent?
Sure. Thank you for entertaining this motion. We have expended the vast majority of our overtime for this fiscal year, and that was due to several reasons. Most notably, we continue to deal with the disorder in downtown Lowell that has required us to hire officers on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at an overtime rate those officers continue to be very engaged in the problems in downtown Lowell. As a matter of fact, so far this year, we've seen a 29% increase in the activity in downtown Lowell over last year. That is mainly due to an extraordinary number of arrests for public urination. The police department has taken a zero-tolerance stance when it comes to that type of behavior in downtown Lowell because it was really becoming problematic. In other areas, for example, the assaults have actually dropped a little bit from 20 to 16 incidents. The vandalisms have gone from 11 to 10 in this time period, and the disorderly conduct arrests went from 18 to 17. So those other areas of disorder are continuing to keep pace with the crimes from 2011. And in 2010, the numbers were much less dramatic than they were last year at this time in 2011, and the activity continues to reflect the problems in downtown Lowell. So we need to continue to staff those offices in the downtown area. We also ran into some problems in our dispatch area. Unfortunately, we had several long-term illnesses, people who had been away from work, and as you know, we need to continue to man the dispatch area. And while those individuals were out, one came back to work and then has since gone back out. One had to leave the department. She was just too ill to continue her duties, and the third dispatcher did indeed come back to work. We've had to hire some dispatchers to replace the ones that have left. One resigned, and one also, as I said, left because of illness. So we elevated 2 detention attendants to dispatch positions, but they are currently undergoing mandatory training, and they're not available to us and won't be available for several more weeks. So we're running shorthanded in the dispatch area, and we've had to fund that with overtime as well. Our animal control situation, the animal control officer, we're down 1 animal control officer due to a personnel issue. He is not working, and we have been utilizing the 1 animal control officer on duty. And then, in addition to that, we've had some other miscellaneous expenses that we had to cover. As you know, we want to maintain the level of coverage in the neighborhoods. We want to make sure that our officers are out on the street in the neighborhoods patrolling, and their cruisers are on foot. And when we do have absences as a result of training, vacation days, sick days, it definitely has an impact on our staffing levels. We also have 11 officers currently on long-term injury leave. We have 1 on military leave, and we have, right now, we're below, we have 10 openings through attrition, although we just hired 3 lateral transfers from the Melrose Police Department, and they are currently in our police training officer program, but they are not full-fledged police officers as of yet in the city of Lowell, but will be soon. We do plan to hire 7 officers for a police academy, which will begin in June. We've also had some issues with out-of-grade compensation. Contractually, we're required to fill open captain's positions with lieutenants, and they do indeed receive out-of-grade compensation. Currently, Captain Sullivan, who received an injury in November, is still not fully functional, and hopefully will be back to work later this month, but he's been out since November, and a lieutenant has had to fill his position and receive captain's pay as a result. And Captain Bill Taylor, as you all know, is currently at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, so another lieutenant is in his position and receiving captain's pay to cover his assignment. There has been unfortunately, some issues earlier in the year with the gas. We had to transfer $120,000 from our salary and wages line item to the gas because obviously the gas was very problematic, very expensive, and as a result of that, we needed that extra money. So currently, we're in a situation where we need this extra overtime. I am hoping and I intend not to spend all of the $160,000 because we are making some cutbacks in some areas in terms of captains coming to some meetings, off-site meetings, sending captains to meetings in the evening in the neighborhoods. We're covering them with on-duty captains, not the sector captains who typically attend. And we hope that this $160,000 will cover the shortfall until the end of the fiscal year, and I do, as I say, intend to have some left over. I hope, with barring any unforeseen circumstances or any major incidents in the city, we will hopefully have some money left to be able to give back to the city when the fiscal year is complete.
Thank you, Chief. That was exactly what I wanted. Just 2 follow-up questions. do we pay for the officers when they're in the academy, once they're hired, or they start getting paid once they're out of the academy?
Yeah. Oh, no, they're paid while they're in the police academy. They're hired by the city of Lowell, and they receive compensation for the entire time that they're in the police academy.
And secondly, those 11 officers, how long have they been out?
Well, it varies.
Vary?
Yeah, some have been out very short term, and some have been out a little bit longer. I know that there's been some efforts to retire some, and that has, several have been retired recently, and that's why we have these open positions that we're going to be able to fill and put people in an academy in June.
And how do they get, I mean, you have to backfill, I understand, but they get paid out of the workers' comp?
Yeah, they pay,
Or Mr. Manager?
they're paid out of the budget. We're not, they're paid under Section 111F,
Right.
which is the 100% salary, whereas workers' comp is, we are self-insured on workers' comp, but that comes in at 66%. So these are paid out of the 111F account.
Okay. At some point, Chief, could you just provide us that information on that, the number of officers? And I know in the past, do we still have that well, it was an occupational therapist. Do we still have that individual?
We have a different individual in place, but it's the same system that we have.
Okay.
And Council, I know that in the past, you've asked for reports on that on a periodic basis, and I think it's been a while since we've gotten you a report of that sort, so we can do that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I have no qualms with the $160,000 for overtime. If our superintendent says he needs it, I know he needs it. I'm just concerned about, not concerned, but I'm curious to know that we're taking it from the school heating/gas account. How do we have that much left over to transfer that? Is that from Amoresco's input? How do we save that much when it comes to gas or heating? I'm certainly sure. Yeah. We didn't have snow, but I was cold this winter, so.
It's been a combination, Councilor. I'd say it's been a warm winter, although
not for me.
You may have been cold. I know that generally speaking, the temperatures were warmer than average, and there are some benefits that we are seeing from the Amoresco project in reduction in costs in our schools. As you may recall, the school building heating utility bills were taken on by within the manager's budget on the city side, as opposed to remaining in the school side 2 years ago, because there was some issues and some concerns, and that's where the Amoresco savings are going to be felt. And the debt service is on the non-school side as well, so we moved it over. So that's why we can move that money around like that without going to the school committee. But it is the warm weather and the Amoresco together.
And so having said that, and this example is before us, I'm bringing this up for one particular reason. When we discussed a motion about 0 tax increases, and rightfully so, the concern was, well, we're saving money here, we're saving money there. So if the public out there and the taxpayer realizes we're saving all this money, why do we still have to raise taxes? Well, this in itself is a perfect example of unforeseen expenses when we as a council want to make sure that the downtown is running smoothly. This is the transfer that we need to do. Correct. So that it doesn't go back in the general fund, the savings, it goes to offset a need that is present. So this is an example, and this is why I bring this up right now, because this isn't just one incident, there are a few of these. And so that's why I'm trying to justify why I didn't support that motion, and I'm not no ill intent to the maker, but this is the reason that we see savings, but the savings are quickly dashed because they have to go to another need, and so that's why I bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie and then Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to transferring the money you were talking about downtown, I've been down there now a couple of times on a Saturday night, and your department does an outstanding job. Reliving my youth a little bit down there, I guess, I don't know. But I do see the police down there, and there is quite a presence, and I haven't seen any fights or The noise level, it is a neighborhood now, the noise level has been way down. I just wanted to say the officers have done an outstanding job.
Thank you,
And-
Counselor.
And beyond that, I want to say thank you. A couple of weeks ago, I put a motion in to have the proper departments, Parks and Recreation, and the police come up with a summer safety program. And I know Deputy Superintendent Arthur Ryan and Tom Belgard has been working on that. And I think they're going to come, I've asked them to come before the council. I think it will be May 30th if they're ready. But I feel good that I think we're going to have probably a national program on park safety, and they've done an outstanding job. And I just wanted to say thank you for putting Deputy Superintendent Ryan on that and let him to take part. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Counselor. I can say with certainty that I have a tremendous staff, from all the command staff right down to the patrol officers. Chad Collins, you see here tonight, they do excellent work, and I'm very proud of them.
Thank you. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Chief. The overtime, the number of officers that we have in downtown on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, how many officers in overtime over there?
We have on Thursday nights, we have 5 officers, we have 3 officers on Thursday nights, and we have 5 officers on Friday and Saturday nights in downtown Lowell.
Are the establishment hire any detail officers?
Yeah, some do, some don't. It varies from establishment to establishment, and there's not always a guarantee that a detail is available to work, even if they want to hire. But typically, some hire on, we continue to have problems at some locations, and we've talked about that before. You're all well aware of the issue, and we addressed that, in February, and I made the presentation on the concerns I had. So there have been disturbances, there have been fights, there have been arrests made, and I would hesitate to remove these officers from the equation at this point in time, because if we are indeed getting things under control, we need to continue to do that, and it is, fragile situation if we remove those officers.
Right. I do concur with you that what you're doing now in downtown Lowell, you can't really move the officers away from it while the situation is still under shaky ground.
Yeah, exactly.
You've done a fabulous job over there. I second all the councilor that spoke with regard to the work you've done. I also like to thank you for the detailed summary on the reason why the request of transfer, as you have spoke to on question by Councilor Elliott. Thank you. Pleased to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councilor Kennedy, and then Councilor Martin.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through you to the superintendent. A lot of this money, I guess most of this money is going to, for police details downtown.
Well, actually, probably most of it would be going to the miscellaneous item that I mentioned earlier, and that would be the coverage in the neighborhoods, the patrols that we continue to do, investigations and items like that. About $19,000 of this $160,000 will be dedicated to downtown. Another $3,000 to the dispatch, that's my glasses, another almost $30,000 to our dispatch area, about $1,000 to animal control, and then the remainder would be dedicated towards just the regular expenses of filling the assignments that I talked about that are currently impacted by training and absences and things like that.
Okay, so only a small amount, less than 15% will be going to downtown.
Yeah, if that's what that is, yeah, it's about, as I said, it's about $19,000.
Okay, so if I could just ask you, I'm only looking for a brief answer, but a couple of months ago, after the Fortunatos incident,
Yes.
we met with you, and it was a long meeting, and we came up with several recommendations for sanctions with those bars that included videotape and
Right.
a bunch of other stuff. And how is that going? Has that been imposed, and how is that had an impact, or are you having a tough time imposing those sanctions? And how is the police department's relationship with the license commission? Has that improved, or is that how's that coming along?
Well, as far as, I think that sanctions would not necessarily be the correct terminology, but more or less rules and regulations that we try to work to put in place. But I would defer to either the manager or the law department on that question, Counselor, because I don't necessarily have an answer for you on the issues regarding the rules and regulations that we suggested be put in place.
Are you saying you're not sure whether they've been put in place or not? Or
I don't think they have been, to be quite honest with you.
Let me jump in here, and I'll let the solicitor jump in as well. The rules and regulations have not been accepted by the License Commission. We sent them on immediately, and as you know, they were here that night and received them. They have been going through them, apparently. And I know that there have been meetings scheduled with the solicitor's office that have not taken place. So we have not seen the progress there that we would have liked to have seen. We're continuing to try to work with them and developing a plan of action of what we're going to do if we're not able to get the License Commission to accept those. And again, the solicitor should probably weigh in on this as well.
I had assumed, because, and the License Commission was here, or at least a couple of them were here for that meeting. I think one was in the hospital at the time, but it seemed like everybody was on the same page. And that's a couple of months ago now. Now, you're saying that evidently everybody wasn't on the same page, and we're not getting the level of cooperation that we should be getting from, or that you expected from the License Commission? Is that fair to say?
It's fairly accurate.
Madam Solicitor.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess just to speak to that a bit more, we did have at least one meeting, internal meeting. In fact, the chief was there, and it was very good. It was a productive meeting with one of the members, Brian Occasion, of the License Commission. And at that meeting, we did go through a number of these rules and regulations. Commissioner Occasion had some suggested changes, and in fact, we've looked at some of those. Since that time, the council's had an opportunity to look at the rules and regulations, send them along to the License Commission. I also have sent them along to the License Commission with an offer to work with them and set up a meeting. We had made, I think, a couple of attempts to set up meetings, and there was some various scheduling issues, and so we'll be, and then the License Commission themselves, I think, have had a number of hearings. I think they've been meeting just about every week for the past 3 weeks now. So hopefully we'll be able to meet, wrap the rules up, and I have not had an opportunity to get a true sense as to what the other two members, what their position is on the rules. One of the members had indicated, actually, when I transmitted the rules, that they thought they should be just one page in length. So while that's not encouraging, hopefully we will, once we sit down, we'll be able to go over the rules and finalize a product. I'll certainly report back, as I did initially when I transmitted them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I have comments similar, questions, I guess, similar to Councilor Kennedy's. I had asked the manager this very question earlier this evening and plan to file a motion asking where we were in these rules and regulations. I'm going to do that for next week. And so I don't want to dwell on that. It's not quite the topic, but at that meeting that we had in February, a number of bar owners were there, and I think a number of them expressed a willingness to comply voluntarily with some of these. Certainly not all of them were here, and not all of them agreed. But Chief, from what you've said tonight, is that not happening? You know, the kind of the staggered closing times. Are we not getting kind of the cooperation that we anticipated after that meeting from owners?
Well, I will say that there was some efforts made by the owner of Hookslide Kelly's to work with a consultant group, and they actually ran a meeting on a Sunday morning at the Polish American Vets in Centerville for some of the bar owners to attend. I don't think the attendance was significant. I don't have a list of the names of the organizations or the establishments that attended, but there were only a few there. I will tell you that Hookslide Kelly's, was at the time, even beforehand, closing their doors at 1 a.m., not allowing anybody in after 1, and filtering people out then. They seem to have, or seem to be, the establishment that's most responsive to our concerns and are doing what we hope they would do. The other establishments, as far as I know, although I could be wrong, but I don't believe they are working to voluntarily comply with the suggestions we made that night at the meeting here in February. As far as I know, they continue to be open till, 2 a.m., serve alcoholic beverages to whatever period of time close to 2 as they can. But again, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I have not heard of any establishment voluntarily falling in line with Hookslide Kelly's, who is trying to, and quite honestly, when I look at the report I have in front of me about issues in downtown, I see 3 incidents at Bryan's Ivy Hall, 3 at Savannah Palace, 3 at the Village Smokehouse, 1 at El Rincon, and 1 at the All-Star Lounge, which is the new establishment at Kirk and Merrimack. And I see that Hookslide Kelly's is not on this list. So that would indicate to me that they are indeed responsible in terms of trying to control the concerns that we, or deal with the concerns that we had. As far as the License Commission goes, I know that they did indeed make a request in February, around the time that we were having these discussions about the disorder in downtown Lowell. A 2-page memo was sent to my attention regarding multiple points of information that they required or requested, and this information was very extensive, and after a review of this information with my staff, we determined that it would literally be impossible to gather the information they requested. It would be require our staff to be putting aside much of their work for an extended period of time, a couple of weeks, to hand read reports that they would have to. It's just not readily available. So I sent to the License Commission on April 5th a response to their memo telling them that I was not able to provide all the information they requested, but a couple of things I could get for them. And it was my understanding that there was a desire to have these questions answered before they would consider the implementation of the rules and regulations that were suggested at the meeting we had in February. So that's the information I have. As far as I know, I don't think that there's been any, I've not received a response to my memo to the License Commission that I would be unable to provide this information for the most part.
All right. Thank you. And then in follow-up to the question Councilor Kennedy asked about how much of this money is being applied to the downtown, and you said a relatively small percentage of the overall amount, but that's not including what's been spent to date, right? I mean, there's...
Oh, no, that's only
It's
for
going
the end of
forward.
the fiscal year. Yes, that's correct.
It's going forward. So
That's
there's been a considerable expenditure of funds by the city
Yes.
to address the issue of disorder in downtown.
Right.
And I think, to the credit of the officers in the police department, it does seem to be better. But I got a call from a constituent today who told me that there haven't been any sort of eruption type incidents like we've seen in the past, but expressing concern that really nothing had changed. And I from what I'm hearing from other questions from other counselors, that they're concerned that really the patterns of, although maybe behavior has been tempered somewhat because of, the no tolerance policy you announced, that there's still a problem or a potential problem as we come into the summer months here. So people should, this is a serious concern to me. And it sounds to me like it's of serious concern to other counselors. And if we're not going to get voluntary cooperation, and if we're not going to get rules and regulations that everybody, when they're in a public meeting, thinks they can live with, then, speaking for myself, the council's not going to be stonewalled on this issue. And if we need to look at ordinances that the council needs to put in effect to bypass regulations, then we should look at that. And I have not been one who's been a supporter of rolling back closing times here, because I understand the need for nightlife and the income that brings to establishments, and that helps them stay open during the day and during earlier hours. I get all that. But when we have a public meeting and people express a willingness to cooperate, and months later no cooperation has occurred, there are going to be consequences to that failure to act by some of these people. So, you know, I'm fully supportive of this transfer. I think it's well needed, but this is an expense to the taxpayers of this city, in large part to address disorder caused by some, you know, not all liquor serving establishments. And so I'll have more to say with motions I file next week, but I think the public should be assured that the council is not going to go away on this issue.
I would just suggest to you that in November, when I did appear before you, I did talk about the expenditure of about $131,000 in 2011 and 2012 for order maintenance in downtown Lowell. So that at that time, in February, we'd expended, you know, a great deal of money. And I totally agree that we at the police department is not in favor of rolling back the hours from 2 o'clock in the morning to an earlier closing time, although that would be helpful. But I think we can get what we need to do by putting these rules in place and having people close their doors at 1 a.m. and allowing everybody who's there stay in the establishment until 1:45 or whatever time is appropriate for them to leave. And I think that we could have an impact. But again, it's we're still struggling with that.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the vote?
Mayor, can I
Councilor
just
Elliott.
follow up? I just want to follow up on Councilor Martin's point regarding the closing time and voluntary cooperation. I think we were all under the impression that this was sort of a no-brainer, that we weren't going to tolerate this, and here are a set of rules and guidelines that we're asking you to follow, and if not, then we should take stronger measures. And it seems, I mean, this is not just in the last couple of months. This has been going on, I can recall meeting in this chamber last summer where the problems downtown occur. And I think the point is well taken. We're coming into the summer months where there will be more activity downtown, there'll be more people out, and that is when we see the increase or escalation in problems downtown. And I applaud you taking a strong tact or a strong approach to you know, public urination. That was one of the chief complaints that we all received. But I agree, while we don't, and just for myself as well, if make my own point, if we don't get this cooperation, and we can't continue to sustain these transfers of overtime, nor is it a good use of our resources. You know, it's the tail is just chasing the dog's chasing the tail. It's just going to continue if we don't get this cooperation and/or take measures to stop. So I don't know what motion is forthcoming, but it seems that we are going to have to take a stronger approach because the process that we've been going through is either not been heard, not being followed, or certainly the number of altercations that are still taking place, the problem still exists. So I just wanted to state that you know, I don't know what the next step is, but I think Councilor Martin's right. We have to be heard and let the people know downtown and in the neighborhoods, because it affects the neighborhoods. Because then cars have to come out of the neighborhoods into the downtown. So thank you for the chance to speak.
We have also recognized that the arrests this year have increased. They've gone up 20%, and half of those people, once again, and I'm not trying to criticize people who don't live in Lowell, but half of the arrests are people who don't live in the city, who are in our downtown creating these disturbances. So I think that's notable.
Mr. Manager?
I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo the frustration of the council from the point of view of the administration that the voluntary compliance has not taken place and the License Commission has not acted on the rules and regulations, and we've tried to work cooperatively with them to see that happen, as the solicitor explained, and we're investigating what options we have as far as the administration outside of what the council might, the actions the council may be taking on this, but I think we all share the same concerns about what's happening downtown.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote in City Council order to fund one half of the cost of the final arena audit and to transfer all remaining funds as of June 30th, 2012 from the Arena Enterprise Fund. Ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. That the amount of $4,750 be transferred and appropriated from the Certified Arena Enterprise Fund balance to the Arena Fund Operation Expenses Account number 66000030-520605. Further transfer all remaining funds as of June 30th, 2012 from the Arena Enterprise Fund to the General Fund. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, order that the amount of $4,750 be transferred and appropriated to fund one half of the costs of the final arena audit and to transfer all remaining funds as of June 30th, 2012 from the Arena Enterprise Fund.
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Laurie. Councilman Mendonça.
Just a quick question. The only remaining expense, I believe, in the fund was the debt service. There was a loan we owed. What is the balance that remains on that loan, if you have that, or an estimate of it?
I think it's about 600,000, I think, somewhere in there.
Under the current schedule, do you have any idea how many years it would take to?
It may be in my cover memo. Let me look.
Well, I'm sure it'll be in the budget and shortly.
Yeah.
I want to say, Councilor, I want to say it's 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4. But there's
That's
still
my recollection.
600,000 in debt that'll have to be paid off over the next few years.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. What is left in that account, in the enterprise fund?
Roughly $200,000.
Okay. So that just goes back into the general fund, or
Correct.
any
Right.
plan?
This is being recommended to us and asked of us by the Department of Revenue as they go through our
Right. Okay.
books.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick. Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Mr. Clerk, if I could vote yes?
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Mr. Manager.
9 yeas.
And if I could just, we were just looking at the numbers up here. It's about, Councilor, it's about $125,000 left in the account.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote in City Council order to fund a number of small projects ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. That the amount of $219,000 be transferred from the Snow and Ice Removal Contractors Account number 04008753-529600 to various accounts more fully described in Attachment A. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title in City Council vote. Order that the amount of $219,000 be transferred to fund a number of small projects. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just quickly go through these with the council. As you know, it was a very warm it was a snowless winter, warm for some people and not so warm for others. But we ended up closing the year with about $219,000, $220,000. And we sat down and tried to, it is intended for, or was originally budgeted for snow and ice costs. And as you know, we usually spend anywhere from $2 to $3 million, and this year we spent just about $1 million. So we initially began thinking of ways to utilize the funds to go back towards our snow and ice systems, so that we could, as originally intended, so that we could be more efficient and effective in the future. And they're not in abundance. We didn't necessarily want to go out and buy any more vehicles, but we did see, initially we saw an opportunity based upon the track record that we had this year with our salt monitoring and dispensing system that we installed on 8 of the new vehicles that we had come in. We have a number of members of the Public Works Department tonight here that have utilized this dispensing system this year and saw the value in it. So those 8 vehicles saw a reduction in salt usage that was substantial this year. Now, I realize we didn't have a lot of storms this year, but what we did have, the individuals who drive those routes and the tracking that we did on those routes compared to other routes of similar size indicated that we were, in fact, saving quite a bit in terms of salt being utilized on those routes in the order of 25%. So this $100,000 that we have coming out of the snow and ice budget would go back into the snow and ice operation with installing this salt monitoring and dispensing system on 13 more vehicles. That would leave us then with, I believe, 7 vehicles that would not have the system. Those are, for the most part, those are older vehicles that will be replaced in the near future, and we'll buy the salt monitoring system at that time. At least on 5 of them, another 2 we may look to do it in the future. But just to give some sense of what we're talking about here, we looked at last year's salt account, not this one that we're in, and we spent about $1 million on salt. So if you now some of that salt goes to outside people that do some sanding for us, but for the most part, we do all the sanding in the city with the city vehicles. So saving 25%. You can see is a substantial sum of money. It could save us upwards of $200,000 and pay for itself very quickly to do that. So that's one aspect of what we're proposing to utilize this snow and ice account to do. The Sally Port right outside here, which the police vehicles have to utilize on a regular basis, is also the area where the number of vehicles park for City Hall has experienced quite a bit of settling around the old tree pits areas. It really is an unsafe situation out there with tripping, but also the safe operation of vehicles, particularly the police vehicles that have to exit that Sally Port on a regular basis. Needless to say, it does do some damage to those vehicles in the long run. But also it cuts down on response times if we're having to slowly exit there. So we'd like to repair that at a cost of $26,000. The chandelier above you is the original, and it also has the original wire, which makes it somewhat unsafe. We'd like to replace that wiring and eliminate that potential fire hazard that sits over your head every Tuesday night. Right.
Fix it.
We're safe over here.
So, I knew that one would jump to the top of the list. So that's something that really needs to take place. The oil and tracking delivery system. This is again out at the Public Works Garage, and we've really made a concerted effort. And again, the guys here can speak to this if there are any questions, but of doing a much better job of maintaining our vehicles. We got that new fleet this year. We'd like to maintain them on a regular basis and do it properly. That requires us, obviously, to, as everyone knows, you have to. A key part of that is changing the oil on a regular basis. Unfortunately, the system that we have there is essentially, as described in the memo, is a hand pumping system. They have to pump fluids out of the tanks and then go back and manually fill them. We'd simply like to install a system similar to what we have at the police garage that allows us to pump directly from the tanks to the workstations in the garage. Save time, will be less onerous and likely to cause workplace accidents as we have to carry that oil back and forth and back and forth. It's just a better way of operating a vehicle maintenance facility. We do have a number of park projects that have been sitting, waiting for us to take care of. The tennis courts at Callery, McPherson basketball, McPherson tennis, Shed Park tennis. We want to go in, we want to clean them, fill all the cracks, and reline those, particularly with the commitment that we've made to, that we'll be bringing to the council very soon on the recreation projects for the summer. And then lastly, the Wang School generator needs to be, that has failed, that needs to be replaced or repaired, I should say, to get it back online so that that school is properly served by an emergency generator. So we think it's a good use of money, a good use of capital investment. Obviously, as I think I've said publicly for some time now, the city has a backlog of capital investments, and I know that there's talk about going out to visit the schools in the upcoming few days to look at some of the capital needs there. We did, for the first time, get a comprehensive capital budget from the school department, as well as all of our other departments. The totals of that capital budget exceed $100 million. We probably have another $100 million worth of work, potential capital projects out there, if you include streets and sidewalks and facilities that need repair. We will be presenting a capital budget to you this year that will address many of those and get the ball rolling towards fixing these facilities and making the investment that needs to take place. But I think the investment that we're making here on these public works areas and facility needs are all very much justified and a good use of money, either in terms of making the facilities more usable, but also making our operations more efficient, more effective, and less costly.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie and then Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I saw this report, I was pretty excited. I'd gotten several calls up in the Highlands on the Callery Park basketball court. Not that it's in bad shape, but at least if it was cleaned and you put the stuff in there and painted it. And so this will take care of it. And I had several calls. I went out and looked at it. And when I know you're trying to increase the Parks and Recreation money this year, so it'll have basketball courts, tennis courts, and I think that will all add to the summer. One thing I'd like to say, while I see the Mr. Snow and the DPW, a couple of weeks ago I received a call up in Belvedere, a few calls really, and I notified Assistant to the City Manager Henry Marchand of the bird sanctuary up on Bird Street. Well, they had been up there. I've talked to a couple of the people, and I just want to say what an outstanding job they did. I think the foreman's here tonight, and maybe a few of the people. But I went up and looked at it after the people got a hold of me, and they did an outstanding job, and I just wanted to recognize them for that work. And I want to thank you for the basketball courts, and I did receive several calls, so their dreams are coming true out in the Highlands, I guess.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick and then Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think these are all important issues to tackle. I particularly like the salt monitoring system where it's going to save money. Those are the type of investments or one-time funds I think make the most sense if we can save. I don't know how you can work the math on this if you do the 25%, but if we're doing 13 trucks, that's half of them. So maybe you get 12.5% on. It's still significant money that will pay for itself in a short period of time, the way it's explained. But my only concern and hesitation on this as a package is we're coming into the budget, and I assume we're going to have an updated capital plan?
Yes.
And I don't know if there's any particular rush on any of these items. I would like to see it all together to see where this fits in. Obviously, I'm going to make the assumption that these are items that are high on the list, seasonal, not big ticket money items, and that's why they're in here. But I don't know what else we have. I know we have a tour of the schools coming this Friday to see what funds they want, and out of curiosity, I guess, or to put it in perspective, or for me to be able to see it in perspective, how high up these are on our needs. And I know we look at our goals and objectives and expanding recreation, saving money, and these all seem to be very high up in our priorities and what we've talked about as a council, saving money going forward, becoming more efficient. So I will support it. I would, in the future, prefer to see it come in together so that it can kind of weigh it all together, see the big picture, as opposed to voting on $219,000 now, and then I assume DPW is going to have a, some type of capital plan coming in the next 3 weeks.
Councilman Dotson, and then Mr. Manager.
Yeah, when I received the list, I understood the need and the benefits of all of these items. My only one concern was an assault monitoring system. I think the manager addressed most of what I was concerned about. Obviously, if we buy new equipment that comes with this, that's fine. We'll have many years, which we'll get the payback for. You did state that there are some trucks that are older and will probably be replaced, and that was my concern, is that I didn't want to invest in putting in a system in a truck that we were going to get rid of. So going forward, even after we transfer the funds, if it passes, that still I hope that you and Mr. Snow would evaluate this and make sure that there'll be sufficient years remaining on these trucks that we'll get the payback. If we're going to replace it even in 4 or 5 years and we might not get the payback, then maybe it's not an investment like we thought. Bottom line is I'd like to see this pay for itself in the long run so that there'll be savings that cover this cost. We just be an investment now, savings down the road. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Well, if I could, and perhaps I'll start with Councilman Johnson's questions. That's why we aren't doing it on every truck right now. The older trucks that we won't be doing it on are really the ones that are the Sanders are built in with the newest Sanders that the city has bought over the last 10 or 15 years, I think it is. They're the stainless steel Sanders that can be removed and taken. Someone there can correct me, but this is my understanding. They can be removed off the vehicles, put on newer vehicles, and those last a long period of time. So we will certainly get our life out of this piece of equipment on those vehicles. The older vehicles, you can take these off, but we're going to be replacing those pieces of equipment in the near future anyway, so we'll just buy it built on in those cases. But it will certainly pay for itself with installing these on the vehicles. And along the lines in terms of the timing, several of these items don't really qualify for the capital budget. They're smaller, particularly really all of the park projects. When we look at the capital budget, the capital budget is really the amount that we put in, that we work together all of the debt associated with that so it can be layered in a way that has minimal impact on the operating budget of the city in terms of the debt service. The capital budget that we're talking about is much larger. It will be larger items that you would bond for. These are small. Those are smaller projects. The salt system is one that we saw such success this year that we wanted to get this in place for the fall. So that, if this is approved, we now go out to bid. The bid takes place over a period of time. We then get those, are able to award a bid probably sometime in early July. The order is placed. They come in sometime in mid to late summer, and then we spend a period of time installing them on the equipment. And so that's why they'll be there for the fall. You wouldn't want to wait and have them come in. This is a problem we had this year, actually, even with the equipment that we ordered last year. Even though we ordered it in May, I think, it didn't come in until October and November. We were still, every day we were waiting for more pieces of equipment to come in. So we want to get these on. The chandelier speaks for itself. The oil system is probably, again, is something that is long overdue, and it just matches up with what we have in the police facility. So, but they're smaller, and they're not of the type that you would put into a full capital plan that has the borrowing included within that.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Mercier.
Not yet.
No, it is not at the moment.
Not yet.
Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, is this first one about the monitoring and dispensing a system, it isn't mandated by EPA, is it?
No, it is not.
It is not. And just a comment that we try to see a group of people and get them out of here as soon as possible, but because those are our own, we let them suffer right along with all of us. Other than that, we could have suspended the rules and allowed them to go home, but they're like in a corner and they're behind me and I didn't even see them, so we could have accommodated them and let them go. They do a tremendous job.
Yes, they do.
In all kind of weather, and so having you here, I wanted to publicly thank you for all your hard work. Thank you so much.
Councilor Mendonça.
I'll move approval.
Move for approval by Councilor Mendonça.
Second it.
Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Kennedy. Councilor Kennedy offers an amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion on the amendment?
Well,
Councilor Elliott.
thank you, Mayor. I second on the motion because I support reducing it, but I have some concerns with the transfer in general. I did support a transfer earlier tonight for public safety because I thought it was important. And when I did see this list and the explanations, I understand the purpose of it. But if we didn't do this transfer, then this money would go into unreserved fund balance, or would go into free cash. And several weeks ago, I made a motion to hold the line on taxes. And this would be one way to achieve that if the money went into free cash and then we use it as a one-time, or whatever that free cash number, we could use that to offset any tax increase as well, or pay down one-time costs on the recap sheet that affects the tax rate. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And while some of these are probably necessary, I mean, I don't know. I look at the chandelier and I say $25,000 to rewire that chandelier. It's a staggering amount. I also look at $100,000 to put computers on trucks to measure the salt. I just think that there are so many other things. I know there were other mentions of other capital items that we could be spending this money on, but more importantly, I think we could be saving money. So when we do talk about the budgets that's coming up, and we're looking to hold the line on taxes, here's $219,000 that could be used for that. So that's my point. That's where I'm coming from, Mr. Manager. And I guess I just had. I think that was all that I wanted to say on that. So, well, I think there are some, needs, and I know there's money coming from FEMA as well as a result of the snowstorm. I would just like to ask. I thought Councilor Kennedy requested a report on the snow and ice expenditure. And if we got that, could we get it again? I don't recall. But I would like to see where the $1 million has been spent. I know you gave us an explanation, Mr. Manager, I believe it was at a finance subcommittee meeting, but it would be interesting because it was a mild winter, and I understand that we did spend some money on salt, and that a lot of the, some of that money, $300,000, I think, was for that October snowstorm. But if we could get that, I think that would be helpful as well. But so those are my points. That's the reason why I can't support this. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy.
On the amendment to the transfer, the $100,000 obviously is for the salt dispenses. I'm not saying there's no need for the salt dispensers. It's just that it's $100,000, and I don't think it needs to be spent now. besides this 219, we will, as Councilor Elliott has said, we will have a couple of $100,000. I don't know exactly how much, partly because I guess the administration doesn't know exactly how much will come back in additional money for FEMA from the storm of, the Halloween storm of last year. I just don't think that we need to spend this money now. It can always be put in the budget for next year, the FY 13 budget if need be. And I just think it's prudent to just kind of hold back and take a look. There may be some items that we can do for the schools and so forth now without bonding that can be done much quicker. I'm not sure if there is. It's just that the money doesn't have to be spent now. In terms of the other parts of the transfer for the parks, I don't have any problem with that. I'm certainly not going to vote against the chandelier. I don't want the place to, if the place ever started on fire, I don't want it to be because I didn't vote for something. But at the same time, all of the items all have rounded numbers, which makes me think that we don't know exactly how much any of them are going to cost. And so that, you know, there could end up being extra money left over. I just think we should hold back on the 100,000 for now and just do it later, and that's the reason for the amendment to the motion.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They are all estimates. It does say it on the bottom that everything's, note all numbers are based on estimates, so it could be more or less. I'm assuming they're going to be fairly close. I understand the intent of the amendment, and I think we just have a little bit difference in philosophy. This is the only item on this list that is going to produce savings and generate some cost savings to us. So I would almost go the other way and say all these other things can wait. You know, we can light candles in here, I think, and save money too. But, you know, I think, you know, we talk about it, you know, putting computers on trucks. You know, we invest in computers and everything. When you buy new vehicles, that's how you save gas. That's how, you know, that's how we run the operation, is upgrades and using technology to save money. And it's available. It's a, you know, relatively minor investment in terms of the operating budget here, and it's going to pay for itself in fairly short order. I don't know for certain. I can't say it's going to be a year or 2 years, but I would say based on these numbers, less than 5 years. To me, it's really the only no-brainer on this list. You know, can we drive slower coming out of the Sally Port? I just learned what that is actually called now. Sure, you know, but you know, in these courts, you know, those are needs, and those are what we take our pride in, and that's what we want to get our children using and keep them doing constructive things. And you know, those are all very well-meaning, you know, expenses. But the salt monitoring system is the one on this list that's going to actually save us money. And I would suggest that if we're going to vote for any of them, that should, just in the fact that it saves us, is going to save us money, should move up to the top of the list. And I did ask the question, so I understand Councilor Kennedy's saying this, you know, can we wait on it? And that was the purpose of my ask earlier, in that if we don't order it now, it may not be in time. And my guess is the longer you wait, the longer the wait is to get it delivered, because there's more demand for it as we roll closer to the season. So I don't support the amendment to cut out the one item that I see is going to save us money. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a point of order, it's probably not allowed to amend the transfer, but we can divide the question into the various items that are listed here, which would be for the highway and sidewalks, the improvement to the electrical, improvement to the parks and playgrounds, and for the DPW equipment.
That's fine.
Okay. Councilor Lowell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at the expenditures and with respect to the different opinions of councilors, and I'm looking at the tennis courts, the basketball courts. I like to see them done because the kids are going to be out of school probably in a month and a half. So these things hopefully will be up and running, and they'll be ready. As far as I know, one of the calls I got, Calvary Park, I think maybe Lowell Catholic uses it, or a couple of schools out there in that area use it. So it'll be ready for the fall. but I'd like to see it ready for the summer, and again, it's, there's some disagreement, and that's fine. I see the DPW here. As far as the salt monitoring system, could anyone come over and give an estimate on savings and what it would do? I think that the question of do we save $100,000 or do we spend it now or later is a good question. So I'd just like to know a little bit about the system.
By our estimate, we saved about 26%. The manager said 25, close enough. We had a few startup issues we had to adjust. The manufacturer says typically you get 30% savings. The system will pay for itself in less than 5 years. So to me, that's a good investment if it saves money. It allows the guys more time on the road, less time sitting up at the salt shed waiting to get filled up, and it's environmentally friendly. So, to me, if you're helping the environment, you're saving money, and you're more efficient, it seems like a no-brainer to me. So.
Another question, if we order the equipment now, do we save buying it in the spring as opposed to the fall? If we...
I don't know about that, but I know that, as somebody mentioned, it takes a certain amount of time to get them on. As you go through the summer, more and more people are going to be ordering this, which
Right.
backs it up. If you want to get it in place for this winter coming up, the time to order it is now.
Okay.
So, I don't know if, Ed, if it price, I don't think it does, but I don't know.
You would get your best price.
And the other cities and towns may be waiting for their budget to do this, which
Right.
could be July 1st, whereas we could get in the head of the
We
queue.
would get the old
Right.
2012 price as opposed to 2013. Yeah.
The other thing is the state of Mass has been going to the same system
If you
for
could
the last
just
few
speak
years.
into the microphone, please.
What's that? Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
The state's been going to the same system for the last 2 years, and so they've been outfitting different sections of the thing, and they're having great results with it also. By doing it now, we're gonna be able to jump on their pricing, and then everything obviously goes up, as the winter gets closer for that stuff. And availability for install. There's only a few companies that do it, and they're limited to how many trucks they can do. 13 trucks is a, significant amount of trucks. We have to tie up 13 trucks to get them done.
Right.
We can't be doing that in the winter and having 2 or 3 trucks down there if we get an October
This gives
snowstorm
you 8
again.
months to do it, too.
Right.
Okay.
We can send them out one at a time
Sure.
and get them done and get them back here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
I actually agree with the comments made by Councilor Broderick on this issue. In the sense, this is the one item that is an investment and will provide savings in the future, which in itself would reduce the pressure for tax increases in the future. If it's a 5-year payback, then we're talking about 1/5 of this, which means that that's $20,000 a year that would not have to be budgeted for salt, in a sense. And even though we can run a deficit, we have to pay for it the following year. So eventually, if we do not reduce the use of salt, we're going to have to pay for it. So I see this as an investment, and getting the equipment here at a time before next winter, as was explained earlier, would require us to order it now in order to have it installed and in service in time for next winter. And as such, I support the original request.
Thank you. Councilor Mercier.
Move the question.
Second.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Martin.
Councilor Kennedy's proposed amendment is now being treated as a motion to divide this order. Is it just the one item? Are we permitted to just divide the one item and leave the rest intact, or do we have to now vote them all separately?
To the maker of the motion.
Is that?
Councilor Kennedy.
I think that has to be separated. I mean, I don't see, we don't have to take them all separately. I think
Divide the
everybody's
question into the 125,000 line item then.
I'm sorry?
It's a $125,000 line item for the DPW equipment, which also includes the the oil.
No, not the oil, just the 100,000.
Just the first one, the first one
Okay,
for 100.
it's listed here under the transfer. as
Okay.
125. but-
Okay, fair enough.
So we'll take that first, then. Roll call, please.
Point of information. What you're stating, Mayor, is that the 100,000 and the 25,000 cannot be separated, right?
Right, it's coming from, it's the same line item. So the DPW equipment is included, both the salt as well as the salt computers as well as the
Right.
oil.
And a yes vote is to approve the transfer.
A yes approves the transfer. Is everyone clear on the question?
So the motion is to approve the 125 for the salt and for the oil.
$125,000 transfer.
Yep.
From the snow and ice surplus, 219,000 to 125,000 to the DPW equipment. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
No.
Counselor Kennedy.
No.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Madonza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
7 yeas.
So the next part of the question then is to approve all three line items, which includes the highway sidewalks, the electrical, and the parks and playgrounds. Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
No.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Madonza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have subcommittee reports, the Transportation Subcommittee report from May 8th. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight at 5:30, the Transportation Subcommittee met here in the chambers. In attendance was Councilor Mendonça and Councilor Kennedy and myself. Also, Councilor Mercier, Councilor Noon, and Councilor Elliott, along with Edna Matchek, Adam Bakey, and Eric Engel, and Abel. I'm sorry. We're going to be sending something to the full council next week. I just wanted Councilor Mercier to finish. We're going to be sending something to the council next week concerning the no parking signs. What we've defined, they're going to be enforceable. You're going to be able to park. It's only 20 feet. If you don't have 20 feet in front of your house, you can't get one. And you have to have it in a place that's like a house offense. It has to be a stable location. And you have to place it to maximize parking for others in the area. So if you have 100 feet of parking or 50 feet of parking, you have to place it so others can park. As far as the fees go, the fees are going to stay at $10. There's going to be now a renewal. If you want to keep the no parking sign in front of your house, it's going to be a $10 renewal fee. And if you're over the age of 70, you're going to be exempt. You'll get the card. You just put down you're over the age of 70, and there'll be no fee. I think that's about it. We didn't come up with an agreement on closing down certain areas, nor did we tackle one-way streets tonight. I do want to recognize Councilor Mercier. She's been here for every meeting. She was here on the last committee, along with Councilor Broderick, and I know Councilor Caulfield was on that. And Councilor Mercier has been back every meeting to help guide us on maybe what wasn't approved, what was approved, and along with the DPD, Adam Bakey and his staff has done a fabulous job trying to help us along And, but I want to recognize not only the DPD, but Councilor Mercia. She's been here just about I know at every meeting, and really helping us guide along on this. So this will be before the council next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the report? Motion to accept and place on file by Counselor Broderick, seconded by Counselor Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. We have motions. Motion by Counselor Kennedy to request the City Council approve the sewer tie-in for property located at 38 Fox Street in Drake, Massachusetts, seconded by Counselor Broderick. Counselor Kennedy.
Mr. Mayor, just as briefly as I can, I don't know if everybody on the council is familiar with Fox Street, but Fox Street is up on Christian Hill, and it straddles the city limits. So that there are houses on one side of the street that are in Lowell, and some houses on the other side of the street that are in Drake. This particular house, 38 Fox Street, their house is in Drake, but their front yard is in Lowell. And so the sewer line that runs down Fox Street is in Lowell. They have been paying for about 10 years, they've been paying the town of Drake for sewerage. And they don't have municipal sewerage. So they were in the process of remedying that situation, and I guess whoever was going to put in the line was down here at City Hall, and then what came to light was that there's an ordinance that I think that was approved a few years ago that requires that anybody from out of town that wants to have sewerage, it has to be approved by the City Council. So that's what this is all about. I've had discussions with the city manager about this and with the city solicitor about this and with the city engineer about this. And I think the only thing holding it up is it needs to be approved by the City Council. This is a single-family residence. The occupant is 93 years old, and he's just looking to get this done.
Counselor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I first saw this motion, I was kind of, I don't know, baffled or whatever by it. The reason I was is because I've never in 17 years seen anybody on the council make a motion like this. Well, we did last week with Councilor Laurie to tie in the sewer, but that's an entity that we own as a city. I believe, and this is just my opinion, that there's an order, proper channels that has to take place, that the petitioner requests the tie-in from the proper entity, namely, since it's sewerage, wastewater, Director Mark Young, and input and approval from the city engineer, Lisa DeMayo. I have none of that on my desk that states that. When it's all reviewed by the proper boards, then it comes to the City Council for approval. We've done that many, many times, and I don't think we've ever denied any of that. And I know that Board of Communities tie in, and I've never, ever heard of anybody not approving that. So on the surface, I haven't got a problem about that. But if you remember earlier in the evening, we had a member of the board from the Lowell Cemetery Commission, and he asked if permission and a vote from this council on a public hearing if we would support storage of diesel/gasoline. And I asked, did the person that would inspect that, namely the fire chief, did he approve it? I didn't realize, but it was in there that it was approved. You're asking us to tie in, to approve a tie-in, and I have no problem with that. My problem is that, has it gone through the proper channel? Has it been reviewed? Did it take place some years ago when 5 neighbors on the street supported this, but he didn't have money at the time? I don't know where this is going. I don't see anything on my desk that says that Mark Young supports this, that Lisa DeMayo, the city engineer, recommends this. I don't know where we're sitting with this. It's unclear to me. So it's not that I don't support it. I just think it's improper the way that If someone would have called me, I would have said, I love to do that, and you're right, the city council needs to support it, needs to approve it. But it has to go through the proper channels. Has it gone there? I don't know that. Did it 3 years ago go through it, or do we now go on the 3 years that it happened? I don't know where we're sitting with this.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, just to answer your question, they were, I think, trying to pull a permit or whatever it was from the city engineer's office. It's the city engineer that first told them that it had to be approved by the city council. But I think that Mr. Young at the wastewater treatment facility and Lisa DeMio, they're well aware of this and what this issue is. What makes this property a little bit unique compared to other properties in Drake is because of where the street is, he has to tie right into a sewer line that's actually in Lowell. If it was further out Methuen Street, say in the Kenwood area, then Drake would be doing it. He wouldn't be coming here. And so that's what makes this property unique. On either side of this house, there are properties that are also in Drake. But if you go down the street towards the river, 2 houses down, now you're in Lowell. And the houses across the street are in Lowell. So, maybe you've never seen this before, but these people have gone through all of the proper channels, and they got tripped up right at the very line just because there's an ordinance that apparently was passed just a few years ago that requires city council approval for this.
Councilor Broderick, and then Councilor Mendonça.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand Councilor Mercier's concern. I actually asked Councilor Kennedy this offline a few minutes ago, and that there is a procedure and a process for this. I think it's to be rejected and then file I don't know if they're supposed to file a petition. I assume a councilor can bring it in as well. I think the point here is that we want to make sure it follows the proper process, but I think also the gentleman's 93 years old to get some finality here. So I don't have a problem with moving this forward, but I would like to make sure, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, that the proper departments sign off or sign on to this before we do anything further. And I don't know if the body wants to take a vote to make it subject to the appropriate approvals. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a very simple situation. I looked at the map on GPS. You can see where it is, and this is precisely the type of situation that this process is in place for. But I think we could probably accommodate, and without throwing it back, saying start over under the circumstances. I personally would be comfortable with that, and I don't know if the maker, if we need to amend, I would friendly substitution, or if the maker of the motion wants to amend it to do it subject to the appropriate approvals from the city departments, just to keep this moving for the gentleman. I think that's the fair thing.
Can we hear from the solicitor?
Sure. Madam Solicitor.
Thanks. As Councilor Kennedy had indicated, we did have a chance to speak about this and yesterday, and based on that conversation, and actually based on one of the points that Councilor Broderick just raised, the age of the applicant, or the petitioner in this case, we had tried to, I had contacted the city engineer. It's my understanding that both the city engineer and Mark Young have no objection to this. They have reviewed it, and it's essentially been approved, but for this step. What we were hoping to get from the city engineer was exactly what you're looking for tonight, Councilor Mercier, a written recommendation of approval. Fortunately, I learned at the end of the day that she was unable to do that because she was off-site apparently all day today. So all of those things have been done. The council could either approve it or approve it subject to whatever they'd feel more comfortable with.
Councilor Mendonça.
Well, generally speaking, I mean, there's procedures in place to make sure there is no alternative for that homeowner. And I don't believe they've ever denied a homeowner who has no other alternative but to tie into the Lowell system from doing so. But I would like to get that evaluation from the city engineer and maybe vote on it as early as next week with that recommendation, letting us know, yep, that's their only alternative is to tie into the Lowell system. They don't see any reason why we should not approve this. And I think we can move forward expeditiously. But I would like to see the city engineer's recommendation before we vote on this.
Yes.
Councilor Lowry.
considering what we just heard from the solicitor, I'm going to just ask we move to approve this tonight, right now.
Second.
Well, that's the motion on the floor. So-
Yeah, with him.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, it was, I don't know if it was a motion, it was questioning.
Second.
Any
Question.
further discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the men from the Lowell Cemetery come up here and said, well, the Chief Pitter, the fire chief, said that he inspected it and approved it, if I didn't see that signature on that paper, I wouldn't have supported it at all. I would have delayed it a week until we had the proper notification and proof that such a thing existed. I'm not denying that this doesn't exist, but I was under the impression it would be on our desk this evening. It isn't. There's nothing here saying that. And I'm not going to vote blindly for something that I don't see. I support a tie-in, absolutely. I know the procedure. I've seen it many, many times before. A developer in Drake on Hildreth Street that abuts Lowell, he wanted to build a building contingent upon the fact that he could tie into the sewer lines in Lowell because it was more convenient and more advantageous and right there. We had the proper information. We had the support of the city engineer and then Mark Young from wastewater. No problem at all. I understand that. I don't see any of that right now. So someone can tell me that the chandelier is wired perfectly. I believe it, but I want to see it. I want to see proof that it was done. And I'm only asking that it be delayed a week till we get the proper information. That's all I'm asking for.
In the form of motion?
Yes, please.
Motion
Delay
delayed.
a week till we get the proper information.
Motion delayed by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilman Mendonça. On the motion, Councilor Noon.
Mr. Mayor, it's not on that motion. I just want to speak about these matters, actually. What it is, Mr. Mayor, that I do agree that we have procedures in place for a reason. And, given the age of the gentleman, I would say that if we could just, have it, approve it tonight, subject to the approval of the city engineering. I mean, from hearing from the city solicitor that the city engineer have no problem with it, nor have Mr. Young. Therefore, the only reasons we don't have, the only thing we don't have before us is that the actual paper letter from her and saying that it's not an issue. Given the owner's age at this time, I would say let's move to approve it subject to the city engineering approval. And so we can move this along. I do understand Councilor Rita Mercier's concern. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor. I think we're talking about a distinction without much of a difference. I mean, as far as there seems to be support among the council to approve this at some point next week. The motion is to delay for 1 week.
That's all. That's
until
all
we
I'm
have
asking.
a signature. The motion is by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
So I just want to get this straight. And sometimes I think this is where government and people at home say, does the left know what the right is doing? Gentleman goes and calls the city engineer's office, and she says, look, I can't issue this until you get council approval. So Councilor Kennedy files a motion and says that to approve this, but we're going to wait and delay it until we get a letter from the engineer saying she wants council approval. This is, I don't understand this. Why didn't you just give the individual approval? Because it needs... Okay, that's all.
Are you asking a question to the administration?
Well, I was. I mean, either she can issue the permit or she needs council approval, or one or the other.
Mr. Manager?
It can't be both because it's the catch-22.
I think, in my answer to that, Councilor, is I don't have the background information on this to give you any answer on that. I can speak to, if maybe the solicitor does.
Madam Solicitor.
I don't have an abundance. I have the information that I got yesterday. However, in speaking with Councilor Kennedy, as well as following up in an email to the city engineer, she was planning on getting something to us tonight, but I guess because of off-site duties today, wasn't able to complete the task in one day. The way, again, there is a procedure, and I think it's one that works. It normally comes in as a petition, or I guess you could do it through a counselor, then gets referred off to the city engineer for a report and recommendation. In this case, the applicant might not have known, the petitioner might not have known. They went directly to the city engineer, and the city engineer was unable to approve it until such time as there was final approval from the council.
Anyone else on the motion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
No.
Counselor Kennedy. Counselor Laurie.
No.
Counselor Martin.
No.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
5 yeas.
Next, we have a motion by Councilor Kennedy, request the city manager provide the city council with the anticipated date for a second municipal lien auction.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Laurie. Councilor Kennedy.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, the motion speaks for itself. I'd just like a date as soon as possible. I mean, I would think that we should be able to put the second auction together pretty quickly. It shouldn't take a month or 2 months or anything like that. Do you have a date in mind, Mr. Manager?
We don't have a date right now, but we'll get that to you as soon as we have it available.
Would there be something next week?
Possibly next week or the week after. We're still compiling the information from the bidders that we received, but we'll get that to you, hopefully next week, Councilor.
I have most of that information, and I know that it won't take long to put together the auction bundle. I mean, all you have to do is make a few amendments. You could probably do it in a couple of days.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.